Hi, and welcome to the Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast presented by Wolf Precision Incorporated, where we learn about and share long range shooting and custom rifle building. I am your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. Hi, and welcome to episode 197 of Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building podcast. I'm your host, Jamie Dotson, and welcome to the show. In this episode, we're going to take a quick break from improving your shot, and we're talking about recoil and recoil calculators, to just touch base on a really cool interview that a gentleman had done. He had asked if he could talk with me on the phone a little bit, one of our customers that's really starting to launch a YouTube channel, starting to grow as a shooter, watching him sort of get into his rhythm over the last year. And he had called and said, hey, can I talk with you a little bit before I head out to this big shoot or big challenge out there with a famous shooter named Erik Cortina? And I think they called it the Blackjack Challenge. And I was like, sure. So after it was all done, he had said he had recorded it and asked if he could publish it. And I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I'm going to share with you that recording. I thought he did a great job. And plus, I want to talk a little bit about his search. I'm going to bring him in here on an interview here shortly and talk with him personally on the podcast. But I just want to share the interview with you. I thought the interview went great. It was really awesome to hear him talk a little bit about his shooting and shooting career, things that he's learned. And then I think it's a great example is taking someone that's never shot long range, getting into competition shooting and actually getting sponsored, and getting up to that level, as well as what would be more interesting when we bring him back on the podcast here and do a personal interview here on our show is to ask him what he learned, the things and mistakes that he's made, because I always find those to be interesting and helping other people avoid them. So for those who would like to ask, his name is Derick, Lycette, and his YouTube channel is called Average Shot. And the interview I'm going to post up after we're done talking here. It's a little bit longer interview. It's about 40 minutes long. And of course, then we'll do our little exit afterwards. And then you can stop over to his YouTube channel, which I'll post down below, and look at all the pretty cool content that he posted up as he was learning and growing as a shooter and getting ready for this Blackjack Challenge with Erik Cortina. So without further ado, let's get started. We got a couple things to cover before we get into the interview. First, we'd like to thank a couple sponsors. MDT is a proud sponsor of the show. They make great chassis. One of the new ones is called a Timber. You can see it up on our website now. So we get asked all the time our opinion on all the different chassis, and the Timber came up in a couple questions, and I do like it a lot. It's a very good-looking chassis. It's very rigid, which is important to me for accurate shooting, and it's reasonably priced. So you can stop over and see all the great stocks that MDT has to offer. The full lineup at mdttac.com, mdttac.com. And I always say that getting a stock that fits you well and fits you perfectly when shooting beyond 700 yards is worth its weight in gold and a great upgrade for your rifle. So stop over and see mdttac.com today. We'd also like to thank TriggerTech, maker of fine rifle triggers, two-stage, single-stage, straight shoe, curved shoe, pro shoe. There's so many different makes and models. One of the reasons why I like the Trigger so much is that they're safe, they're easy to install, and easy to adjust. We sell all of our rifles here without a trigger, and we're going to talk about that a little bit more in a future podcast. And if you want to, I'm going to post up a link as to the dreaded excise tax. So if you want to listen to an older podcast in which we talk about some of the hidden fees that are in custom rifles and the struggles in keeping the cost affordable to customers when it comes to all of these things that get added in. It's a great link down below. I really suggest you click on it and listen to the older podcast talking about some of the different taxes that are involved. And it's one of the reasons why we sell our rifles without the trigger involved. So we're trying to save the customer nearly $1,000 in all the different costs and savings that we can do by just letting the customer take the two trigger pins out, install a TriggerTech trigger, put it back together, and save themselves a large amount of money. So it's how we sell our rifles here, and we think it's the best way that we can serve our customers to give them the best value for their money. So if you want to upgrade your rifle and you want to do it with a trigger, you can stop over to triggertech.com today and look at all their fine selection. If you purchase one of our rifles, we actually have a discount code that we give you to get a nice discount on a trigger, no strings attached. So when you buy your trigger, not only do you get a great trigger, but you can actually save some money as well. So stop over to the website, take a look at all the fine selection. So before we get into Derick's interview, a couple of updates. We do have a couple spots left for the end of the year for our shooting school. We also have our online long-range shooting school. We're posting up some new content soon. Thank you, everybody that's joined us on that. And then, of course, we get questions a lot with the custom rifles. And I think this is where we sort of separate ourselves out from a traditional custom rifle builder or a custom rifle, quote-unquote, manufacturer, right? We are not your traditional builders. We never really have been. Our OCD, ADD in building just the very best custom rifles or the very best components to build a custom rifle has always been the heart of everything we've done. We've never settled for second best. Close enough is never part of our vocabulary. It is the DNA of our business, is almost to a fault is perfection, right? One of the things that accompanies that is the fact that trying to find a way to get a customer a great shooting rifle at a price that people can afford. Look, I tell people all the time, I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. We have no corporate sponsors here. We built this business with blood off our knuckles and strapping our boots on at 4 a.m. and taking them off at 1 a.m. the next day. It's a lot of hard work, and people work really hard for their money. So when you get somebody that's wanting a great shooting rifle, they're sort of stuck in a conundrum. Do they have a local gunsmith that they're not quite sure, what to expect or the questions to ask, or they go to a brand, quote unquote, and pay $7,000, $8,000 for a manufactured custom rifle that has a brand or a TV show attached to it. And then there's everything in between. And my mission or my goal is, I always say that our mission statement almost is everyone deserves a great shooting rifle. And that's always been our approach, is not only do we want to build the best rifles, but we have to find ways for customers to be able to afford them. Not everybody can go out and spend $10,000 or $12,000 for a scoped rifle. That is a lot of money to working class people. People want a great shooting rifle, but they also have to be able to afford to put the optics on it, per se. So one of the things that we've done here is we found a way that we can actually deliver the rifle as almost like a kit, right? It's assembled. It's a completely built rifle, but without the trigger. The customer, that is the easiest part for the customer to put in. We recommend Trigger Tech, of course. It's 2 pins. You take your action screws out, put your trigger in, put your 2 pins in, put your action screws back together, and you've got yourself a world-class custom rifle. But what people don't realize when we do that, though, is that we're saving them a huge amount of money in the form of what's considered an excise tax, as well as all the licensing and fees that go along with it. So anytime you build a custom rifle, especially our level, we are vulnerable to what's considered like an 11% excise tax. And it goes towards a good cause. That part I understand. But when you start talking about a $5,000 or $6,000 rifle and then 11% tax on top of it, and then, your added insurances and licenses and everything else, you're talking about adding, almost 15 to 20% to the cost of the rifle with no benefit to the customer nor a benefit to our business, right? It's just an absolute $1,000 bump in the price, but there's nothing good to the customer. It's simply a hidden tax that's passed through the builder. You can see the link down below if you want to listen to more of it. I talk a little bit more about, all builders run into this, right? So what we've decided to do in our step forward to selling individual components, which is something that we would like to do over the next couple of years as we keep growing as a business, is we decided to let the customer install their own trigger. That's the easiest part. We still want to fit the stock. So we still order all the custom parts. We still fit everything. We still offer bedding. This is a full-on custom rifle. It's just we minus the trigger out of it. And that's to save the customer anywhere from $700 to $1,000 on the rifle. And that goes a long ways. Think about like if you had an extra $700 to $1,000 in your pocket to put towards your rifle. You got your rifle, now we give you $1,000 back. You could buy your rings, you could buy a rangefinder, you could buy a bipod, and still have money left over and purchase a rifle at, in some cases, nearly half the cost of what, other quote unquote branded rifles are trying to market and use branding as a form of charging or upcharging the amount of money. So, my responsibility as a business owner and as to our customers is to always make sure that, we're taking care of ourselves first. We have to make sure that we're profitable, but then we also want to make sure that we're doing everything that we can to pass the best value along to our customers and with the best product. So it's not like we're going to buy a cheap barrel and make a cheap product to save the customer money and in the end give them a lesser quality product. These are always and always will be the very best that we can build every single day. We don't compromise on our quality. We never have. We don't compromise on our components. We never have. We're very picky when we assemble, and we're looking at the stock and inspecting everything to see if things need to be bedded and what needs to be corrected and fixed. And there's a lot of time. And we'll bring Adam Tack, one of our team members here on board, who's been with us now for going on a year, and he will tell you that it's just stunning on the little things that you'll spend a lot of time on at this level that most people don't think about. Like that things that we do that other people wouldn't even touch with a 10-foot pole. Like I was polishing ejector springs for your ejector button in a rifle. I was cleaning it all up and, just making everything perfect. And he was like, I've never seen anybody polish a spring like that. And he was laughing. He was like, people have no clue, right, that how much work is involved in this and the attention to detail that we give the rifles. But it's what we've always done, and it's what our commitment is. And if I can't do it, then I wouldn't be in this business. I would definitely bow out and find something else to do for sure. So with that being said, if you stop over to our website later on tonight and tomorrow, you'll see that we removed the full custom rifle pricing and that we are basically selling a 90% completed rifle minus a trigger that the customer can assemble. Now, I want to be careful when I say 90% completed. These are serial numbered rifles. There's serial numbered actions. They're transferred to you as what's considered like a barreled action. They are not like a 90% upper that you buy online with no serial number that you drill a hole out and finish it yourself. These are legitimate legal rifles, and they're all serial numbered and registered and all that good stuff. So when we talk about building it to that level, what we're trying to do is get it to you with a part missing. That way you can finish it, and then we don't have to add the excise tax on our end. So it's pretty cool. So back to Derick's story. Derick is really interesting. He joined us at a shooting school in Florida that we hosted back in March. He is learning and growing as a marksman, as a shooter. He was a drill sergeant in the military, which always catches my attention. We went out to dinner first night of the school. His personality is really laid back. You can tell that he cares about people and that he's the right personality for a drill sergeant. So I always have admiration to those guys. They made a big impact to me when I was a kid going through basic training. I was in 11th grade going into 12th. I went to basic training that summer. They called it the split op program. And they made the biggest impression on me that I can think of as a young man needing adult role models, and somebody to look up to and get you to learn how to take pride in yourself and get you to learn how to hold yourself to those higher standards. So anything I can do to help Derick as he grows into a shooting career, he has got my attention. And just because he is probably the guy that made that impact on all of those other young men coming through the military and up and coming. And that was that role model. And it's actually one of the fewest tabs issued in the military as drill sergeants. There's not as many of them as there is in a lot of the other services or in the other fields of the armed services. And it's very hard for them to get into. And it takes a massive dedication on their part. So they always have my admiration. So I'm going to post up Derick's interview, and then I'm going to bring up Derick on the podcast here and sort of interview himself. Now, I'm going to put a link to his YouTube channel down below. It's called The Average Shot. And then I'm also going to put a link to the interview that he posted up on YouTube and asked for permission to repost it. I thought he did a pretty good job. It was nice. I didn't know he was interviewing me, for the record. He had just called. He was getting ready to go out and shoot with Erik Cortina, and they called it the Blackjack Challenge. So he was all excited to go out. This was his first big to-do, and he wanted to talk to me before he left. And then he'd mentioned that he wanted to record a little bit of it, and then at the end he'd asked, hey, since I recorded this whole thing, do you care if I post it? And I was like, oh, sure. I never listened to it. It was pretty good. It was sort of like, I would say genuinely how we are, almost with all of our customers, right? And he went out there, and he did great. He got the cold bore shot, and he won the event. And he did it with an ace rifle. So, congratulations. I really enjoyed, having him through the school and watching him grow as a shooter. And he's really, really doing a great job. And he went out there, and I think he took first place in the whole event. So great job and congratulations. Now, when we talk about the ace system, you'll hear people talk about different chamberings, and yes, local gunsmiths can do this, and yes, local gunsmiths do that. But with Derick going out, he wanted to ask me more in-depth questions that he could answer appropriately if Erik Cortina or one of the guys there at that ranch would ask questions about the ACE system. So he wanted education. So I thought it was a great example, as well as sharing with him the story of the development of the ACE and why it came about and why it was so important, and the accuracy part of it. So we have proven it over and over again that we can increase the accuracy of a rifle by attaching an ace to it. There's some of it has to do with harmonics, other has to do with the straight chamber, others have to do with a perfectly straight throat. So there is a threesome here when it comes to getting a rifle to the next level or next generation. So when you buy one of our ace rifles, when you're buying a rifle with an ace system, which is our patented design, you're tripling down on the potential accuracy of that rifle in three ways. You're You're getting dampened harmonics, which we'll talk about in a future podcast. You're getting a perfectly straight chamber, which is harder to do. That's perfectly round, which is hard to do in traditional chambering. And you're getting a perfectly straight throat, which in combination of the reamer going into the barrel is actually hard to do. You're sacrificing a little bit of throat, or you're sacrificing the quality of the chamber, one or the other, because it is a free floating reamer, and we'll talk more about that. So when you buy an Ace rifle, you're buying the most unique rifle in the world. I think we've got the most accurate rifle in the world, and now we're trying to make it affordable that the average person can actually afford a great shooting rifle, which is always my end goal. When I retire from this business, I would like everybody to be able to go out and enjoy and see what it's like to actually run a awesome shooting rifle. One that they smile as soon as they open the case before they put it, on the line. And at the end of the day, they put it away and another smile is still on their face. Like, that was really awesome. The things you can do with a great tool in your hand when it comes to shooting, when you have a high quality rifle or extremely accurate rifle, it just puts a big boost in your step. So, and we want everybody to experience that. So anyway, without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into this interview with Derick. And I'm going to share it with you here. And then, of course, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us. Hope you enjoy it. And you can also log over to see his YouTube channel or watch it there as well. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us. Once the interview ends, I will go ahead and end the podcast there. And then I look forward to talking to you all next week. And we'll continue on, how to shoot better and talking about recoil and recoil reduction and such calibers. Thank you for joining us. Hope you enjoy the interview.
Nice.
Yep.
That's pretty exciting. Well, just keeping lip and lemon how the experience was and how everybody's personality was, how everybody was, fun to hang out with, and yeah, pretty cool. Excited for you.
Definitely. I'm excited to be shooting on, to meet Erik Cortina and shoot on his channel and everything, and kind of put this rifle and this system kind of out there for, for people to see how it can perform. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what you have out there, in the way of like rifles or people that are doing like, sort of social media type stuff, or people that are, regularly competing with your rifles, but I'm certainly proud of it. And, I'd like to tell people, I'd like to tell people about it. And, but in order to tell people about it, I kind of feel like I need to be, a little bit more informed. I've listened to some of your podcasts, and obviously I've taken your class. So, I mean, what are the big things if I was asked, hey, Derick, tell me about this rifle. What are a couple of the key things outside of the fact that it's in an MDT chassis and it's a bat machine action? What are some of the key things that you would like me to talk about and to discuss? And keep in mind that my intelligence level, if I'm asked further questions, is not going to, I'm not anywhere near as smart on it as you are. So.
Oh, no, yeah. No, I mean, the biggest thing is we're repeatedly able to cut a perfectly straight throat into a barrel, over and over again with the attachment of the ace. So basically it's like making the knock and the arrow and the broadhead all individually, and putting them together afterwards. So we can make a perfectly straight chamber, and then we can cut a perfectly straight throat, and then we attach the two. And then the big takeaway for us is it's 100% repeatable results. Like, we don't have any one-offs that just don't shoot because the curvature of the bore is deeper into the barrel than what we get to. So it's as much as an accuracy thing as it is a production thing. We're able to duplicate what I used to do by hand, but now in a repeatable scale that we can do 1,000 of them, they'll shoot the exact same way every single time. So it adds that level of predictability to the rifle.
Yep. Curious, I was actually, this is a conversation that I had because I was looking at your invoice that you had sent me, and you charged me $385 for the Ace chamber. Is that your normal price? Is that what you offer everybody? Or was that just, a price that you had given me?
No, that's like if a customer is buying a barrel with a new chamber on it, that is the cost of the chamber. And then the chamber is reusable. So once you buy the chamber, of course, we have a little bit of machining work to do to the barrel, but that's nothing compared to cutting an entire chamber into the barrel.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not easier. When we make an Ace, we do more work to the Ace than what most people do to the entire barrel to get it ready to put on a rifle. So it's, if we were looking for an easier or cheaper way or less harder way to build a rifle, we've shot ourselves in the foot 3 times. Mm-hmm. But, we're not about building rifles. We're about building the best we can build. And, it's just one of the reasons why we put in Akumas and all the high-end machinery as well, is that we're able to hold these super straight and tight tolerances at scale, where it would be totally, if we had to make that ace by hand, it would be $3,000 because it would just take forever,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Set it up by hand and all the different aspects to it. And we could always send you out a chamber. When do you say you leave on Thursday?
I leave 5:30 in the morning from Portland, Maine on Thursday.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, it's too close to do anything different than what I'm doing now. But man, I could tell when I was down at your place, I could tell that your shop is set up to be streamlined. It's set up to do sort of large scale production runs of these ace chambers and get them out there. You know what I mean? Would you say that's the primary reason you would do a large batch of any one chamber? You think that's for stock to supply to current ace users, or do you plan on selling? Do you sell new rifles in that sort of amount?
So when we do a run, what we're able to do is something that gunsmiths can't. A gunsmith can't make a chamber till he has a barrel, and then when he cuts the chamber in the barrel, he's got one shot to do it right, or else he's got a problem with the barrel. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But what's nice is when we're set up to do chambers or the ace, we can do a run of 300, and then that goes on the shelf to be attached to barrels. So we can preemptively make massive run of chambers without the barrel.
Yeah.
And without all the positive or negatives that come along with it. And then what you might want to do if they wanted to bore scope one out, because take it with you and let them bore scope it out. Now, the one that you have on your rifle, it has the throat. It has been polished out. When you went in with the cleaning rods, you'll see circular motions. It's not a true representation of how we would cut the throat or what it would look like when it's cut.
Yeah.
But the new barrel you have is.
Okay. Yeah.
And if you want to take it along and say, look, I put a cleaning rod in here and probably.
I'm more than happy to tell people, my level of experience and how much I messed it up. I've actually got a video coming out. It's a little bit of clickbait, right? It's I ruined my precision rifle by cleaning it.
Yeah, Erik will get a gig out, but Erik's also a machinist.
Oh yeah.
And if he would look in your rifle barrel that you have there, he would ask, "How the hell did they do that?"
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you showed him one that wasn't, and explain our system, that would probably be a better representation. But yeah, it's not easier, it's not harder, but in order to do it at scale, it's a much bigger investment. So we have $1 million worth of machines sitting back there and 2 machines till it's all said and done. So we had our robots and bar feeders and 4th axis rotaries, but we can do more work in a day with one person than 5 full-time gunsmiths can produce in a week.
Oh, and I noticed that when I was just visiting your facility. You know what I mean? It just seems, streamlined. It seems like everything is meant to be able to do multiples per batch,
Yeah.
And the biggest thing I notice about my local gunsmiths around here is that, every barrel they do might as well be a one-off.
That's exactly what it is. And that's a good way to put it, too, is everything done traditional gunsmithing is a one-off. Mm-hmm. And where we have a system in place that the making of the chamber doesn't interfere with the throating of the barrel, has no negative effect, and then vice versa. So it really isn't any custom one-off. As a matter of fact, there's no custom whatsoever. It's really cool to watch the system work and how efficient it is at the level, but always accuracy first. So we couldn't do this on a run-of-the-mill CNC machine.
Oh, no. Yeah.
You couldn't do it by hand. I mean, it would just be totally stupid, to even try it. But on the flip side of it, it's almost like lean manufacturing in in the gunsmithing world, but at a level of super high performance. Like we're trying to be very efficient and effective, so we're not charging $8,000 for a custom rifle, but we're also paying close attention to like the lean principles of manufacturing, which is, don't waste time, don't waste people's power, don't duplicate work or make unnecessary work. And in the end, you wind up with just a more efficient, better product. But it's a lot of work to get it to that level. Anyone who practices lean manufacturing, if you're familiar with that at all, it's actually a harder route to go at first than most people realize. It's not an easy venture for sure.
Well, it's a pretty clever development, the way you chose to go about your manufacturing process and do, barrels on kind of like on a large scale. I'm not entirely sure the scale in which you do them. How many, if you don't mind me asking, how many ACE systems do you sell a year? Maybe not even complete rifles, but just how many ACE systems?
We have sold thousands to this date, including, I think we have 18 at SOCOM, and we submitted multiple rifles to the FBI, which they've actually purchased, and which we've cut their groups in half. So it's their current rifle systems shoot 0.8 to 1.1. Our rifles shot 0.3 to 0.4.
And it's repeatable from barrel to barrel. Once those components are worn out, they're just going ahead and they're replacing it with an identical component and getting the same result again.
And if they want to, shooting the same exact chamber. So the true story behind the A's, which I never lie about it, but as I was growing as a gunsmith, I couldn't hire anybody that wanted the chamber rifle barrels using spiders, because using spiders as down the curvature of the bore out was a really accurate way to make a rifle, but it's 12 hours just a chamber. It's nauseating on how you set it up. Mm-hmm. And I hired several gunsmiths, and almost all of them quit within a short period of time of being hired because they don't want to chamber that way. They want to chamber between centers, or they just want to dial in a 1 point into the barrel and run it.
Yeah, they want to they want to do a generic hunting rifle.
Yeah. And so I was to the point to where, and I can tell you to the day that I was looking at my lathe and I'm like, well, I'm either going to be limited to what I can produce with my own two hands. Mm-hmm. And that's my life. That's all I'm going to ever become. And the true story of the Ace was like trying to come up with a way to duplicate what I'm doing by hand, but without me physically having to do it every single time, like dialing in the curvature of the bore. And I was setting up my lathe. It was maybe 2 or 3 weeks before Christmas. Mm-hmm. And I had a reloading die setting above my lathe, which is really odd. I normally don't have a die there, and I couldn't even tell you why the die was there. Maybe I was going to put it in the lathe and polish it out or something. But honest to God, it was like somebody hit me in the face with a brick. I looked at the die, and I was actually getting ready to chamber a barrel. And I looked at the die above my lathe, and I looked at the barrel, and I was like, oh, my God, why aren't we attaching the chamber? I mean, a reloading die is simply a chamber, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we can produce those by the thousands and sell them for $20, why can't we attach that to the barrel and shoot it? And literally Christmas Eve, 3 weeks later, we were shooting the first Ace system.
That's awesome.
It actually shot sub half of the way right out of the gate. Bruce was shooting one in a bat machine, and he was shooting 10-shot groups with shot-out barrels. Yeah. We took old barrels and cut them off and attached the Ace to see what it would do, and he was shooting sub half-inch 10-shot groups. So, but yeah, that was, and then I was like, because we don't have to cut deep into the barrel to cut the throat, we're only going in, 120 thou, so we're in the straightest portion, and then we manufacture a perfectly straight chamber, and there it is. But it was started out with a reloading die setting above my bench, thinking, like, holy shit, that's the answer. Why aren't we attaching the chamber? If we can make a reloading die, a full-length sizing die, why can't we make one of those to put onto a barrel? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we can reuse the damn thing, like you're shooting the same chamber, which is sort of another realm. Now, the way that we make stuff, any of our chambers will fit in any of our receivers ever made. So they'll headspace perfectly, and we control that with the the bat. So
Yeah.
the bats hold such a tight tolerance on headspace that we didn't want to run into a problem to where 3 years from now we have to worry about what serial number you have to fit an ace to it, you know?
Yeah.
So any of our aces will headspace perfectly on any rifle we've ever made, any receiver we sell. We never have to worry about, and all the aces are exactly the same, identical to the probably 1 to 2 10,000s.
Yeah. Wow.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah. That's I mean, what's that? Smaller than a human hair? Maybe half the width of a human hair? Something like that. 1/10 of a human hair.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow, that's pretty small.
Cool.
Just to put it into perspective. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard you say that before, and I couldn't remember what it was in relation to, but it's in that. Yeah.
And a lot of gunsmiths will call bullshit on this, and they'll argue, well, it's been done traditionally for 100 years. And I'll agree that a great gunsmith can hand chamber a great barrel. I've done it. I've made some great shooting rifles.
There's Gordy Gritters out there, that's been doing it for a long time, and
sure.
Yeah, there's the old way of doing it has been proven, and there's certainly, I think every other rifle out there besides yours, right, is chambered in a traditional way. But you're talking about being able to service thousands of rifles at a time.
Yes.
Yeah, and you're able to do it. Your turnaround time is quicker, lead time is less. People are able to get their components and continue to shoot quicker by using your system, and it's continually repeatable. Where all of the top gunsmiths in the country right now, that if you want a barrel chambered by them, they're probably 6 or 8 months out. Especially in the heart of shooting season. I mean, good luck. And
our lathe is set up that we can take any barrel at any time and set it in, and our aces are ready. So we always have inventory of aces, and so we really don't have a bottleneck. We just line the barrels up with the customer's name on them, and like we have an Akuma LB 3000 that 14 minutes later that barrel's ready to go to the customer.
Yeah, that's awesome, and that's really the clever thing about what you did and what you decided to do and how you pursued your precision rifle business. That's pretty clever. Yeah.
It was a gamble. It was a risk. I think if Bruce, when we first started working on it, Bruce was probably the most skeptical person of the whole process or what we were thinking of doing, because it's just like anything else. We've been building custom rifles, especially really accurate bench rifles, forever. But, hindsight now, because Bruce has been to my shop here and he still to this day works with me almost on a weekly basis or monthly basis, he'll say that the biggest benefit to our system isn't that it's really accurate. It's just as accurate as any custom barrel that can be made. It's just the high level of repeatability. Like, we've not had one come back. Like, every single rifle performs exactly the same when they leave. We've not seen any variation. So we've eliminated that, you pull the barrel out and cross your fingers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think that's where he thinks our biggest benefit is that we have that level of just 100% repeatability that we can rely on that's going to perform every single time. But that was the process, the system.
You've heard the term, what do they call that? Hummer barrels. You got a barrel that just, one barrel in your lifetime you might get is just a Hummer. Everything you put through it shoots phenomenal, right? And right. I think I got kind of lucky with my Bartlein on my 6.5 because, I mean, it's Old Faithful. It's always shot really well. It was turned, the chamber was done by a local gunsmith here in Maine, and it shot everything really, really well. But it's that sort of level of repeatability. The worry is once it's shot out, will it do that again? And
absolutely.
There's.
I mean, you're gonna have a different chamber. Different chamber reamer, different dimensions. I mean, there's just that's sort of the missing link is and I think a lot of your major manufacturers or even high-end gunsmiths will tell you that. They'll have a small percentage that just don't make the grade, and we've not seen that. We've never had a rifle come back. And even when I was making them by hand with spiders, I've never had a rifle that we've built. Now, we always use premium components. We don't build on garbage, so we've always been picky on the components end.
Oh, sure, yeah.
But honestly, we've never had, and I don't say that braggingly or anything, but we've never had a rifle that we were like, this one's not shooting. Let's rebarrel it or let's replace it.
Yeah.
We've just never had it.
Yeah. That's awesome. I mean, that's really the thing that I wanted to learn about the Ace, so that I could tell more people about it, was that, and like what Bruce is saying, like what you're telling me, is that, this level of consistency and repeatability across barrels is arguably, it's exactly what you're looking for, right? I mean, it's in the long range game, in the precision shooting game at distances, especially beyond 700-800 yards, it's really about consistency. Like, my load that I hand load here, if I've got extreme spreads that are 20-30 feet per second, they're not nearly as consistent as they need to be in order to be accurately hitting a 2-inch plate at 500 yards. So we've got to make changes there. It's the same thing with the barrels. If you can continue to put out the same barrel at the same level of performance or the same consistency, you'll only get that much better. Yeah.
Yeah, it's one of the problems. And it's really weird that it's a sum of all the parts. It's a sum of all the components. It's a sum of all the processes. I mean, there's just, like, we're polishing springs for the ejectors today, and Adam laughed a little bit. He said, to some people, if you told them you did this, it's insane. Like, who takes the ejector springs out and polishes the pins of the springs behind so it reduces friction? And it's just like, it's something that we just naturally do. Like, it's that entire attention to detail to every part, piece, and process. Yeah. And we magically were able to come up with a system that works well together. It's sort of neat. I have not played with, like, we've done proof barrels and IBIs, and we've played with Lothar Walthers. We've not put any, like I would say, $100 barrels to the test. Yeah. Remington did some tests with it before they went bankrupt. They were looking to possibly purchase it, but they went under. But we never got the results of long-term testing from them using like $60 barrels. So we don't know how much the Ace will improve the accuracy of a bad barrel. Yeah. And I honestly don't know that it would. Like, a barrel might be a bad, or the barrel might be a limiting factor. If it's not a high quality barrel, it might not ever shoot 1/4 inch. Yeah. So, yeah. But that's the unknown thing we don't know yet, because we just don't want to play with them.
Yeah. What you're doing right now is working. I mean, what would you stand to gain from buying a handful of cheap $60 barrels and spending your time testing, at distance to see if the Ace, sharpens it up a little bit? I mean, even if it does, the market for people that have a $60 barrel or a rifle that was $300 with a scope on Black Friday, what I mean? Like, they're probably not out there looking to buy your system anyway, No,
they're not. And I think that's where we hurt a little bit, is the fact that we've not compromised in any of our components. And so, like, we know BAT holds a headspace that works across the board with all of our Aces. We don't have to worry about any fluctuations there, but we're also vulnerable to that. And so, because we're using all of the premium components, we can't compete with the local gunsmith that just might spin up a barrel here and there price-wise, because of the cost of just our core components, let alone the machines that we're using. So it's a good and bad thing, I guess you would say.
Well, I don't know if you know what I guess I don't know what the going rate for barrel chambering is these days. But I know that there are 2 gunsmiths in my area, one that charges $400 to have a barrel chambered, and another that charges $5. And it was something that I've been contemplating ever since I went and visited your place, and then I saw the invoice and I thought $385. I thought, for one, that your manufacturing process was the driving factor of the lower cost, right? Because
for sure,
you can put these out.
Our cost on the first chambers, our cost, not our retail, but our cost was between $585 and $700.
Yeah.
And until we started where we're at now in the manufacturing process, for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's we think it's a pretty square deal. You have a little bit of machining to do to the barrel, but the barrel work we do is so simple and really non-invasive to the barrel that it's 10 times easier than cutting a chamber, although cutting the chamber itself on its own is twice as hard as cutting the barrel if you were trying to chamber it. So there's a trade-off there, I guess.
Yeah, it's just, yours is cheaper, right? And I think it's yours is cheaper. It's got to be more repeatable. It's readily available. I just, I don't see, me personally, just from those perspectives and the way that this gun that I'm shooting currently and going to be shooting here in a couple of days at that Blackjack Challenge, just the way it's shooting, I mean, I'm sold on it. I mean, you get a customer for life out of me, Jamie.
Oh, and what's really nice too is eventually we're set up for what's called lights out manufacturing. Mm-hmm. So our machines and our robots that we can put on the machines is we could go home and we could cut 36 to 50 chambers while we're eating dinner.
Yeah, you were telling me about that. Yeah,
that's where we're not there yet, but that's when we can not only compete on quality, but then keep driving the cost down a little more and a little more for the customer too.
Yeah, I mean, it's that's really the big selling point, right? I mean, there's a bottleneck in the industry right now for accurate, repeatable, high quality precision barrels, and there are certainly pre-fits out there that are good, right? There's pre-fits out there that are good, but I know the majority of people that are in this game seriously, they're not getting a pre-fit barrel. They have a gunsmith that's turning their chambers for them and getting ready for the season. They've got 3 barrels at the beginning of each season, and they swap their barrels out themselves.
Yeah, because I mean it's just the fluctuation in the receivers and bolt faces, and I mean you can get them close. And talking to the guys at some of the gunsmithing shops that I know that they do pre-fits. Some of them have stopped on pre-fits altogether because the problem with head spacing that they can have, but they know they're going to be a handful. It's not going to be perfect, and some aren't going to fit. I mean, it's there. I think we were blessed in the fact when we started, and I've known the guys at Bat Machine for like 25 years, and honestly, because of how they started making their receivers, that was sort of the key to our success. Because if we had to make an individual age chambered for each individual barrel, we would never succeed. I mean, we just couldn't do it. As we're sort of hoping now that the industry is getting really tuned up to where you're seeing a lot of these action makers holding head space tolerances now to less than 1,000s. Yeah. If that becomes the norm, then all of a sudden we can start introducing this for other receivers as well.
Yeah, have you looked at the Kelbys?
Mm-hmm. Kelbys, Impact. Yeah. There's a lot of people now that know that the pre-fit market is pretty hot, and the only way it works is if they hold tolerance. Yeah. 7 years ago, if you went to SHOT Show like I did and talked to some of the action makers, and I was asking them like, hey, if would you hold a 1 thou headspace tolerance, not plus or minus 1 thou, but like 1 thou total plus or minus a half. That way we could have a really accurate setup. And they're like, no. I mean, none of them would do it. They were like, we want the gun. There's no reason for us to hold those tolerances. The gunsmith will fix that when he chambers the barrel. Yeah. So there was no other even alternative, just because the action makers back then just let the tolerances go, because each one's going to be hand fitted by a gunsmith anyway. So why waste the time and effort?
Yeah. Currently, the solution to the problem with the bottlenecking for high quality precision barrels with chambers already in them. Currently, the solution is pre-fits, but it's so like they don't offer pre-fits at the level you want for all of the different actions. Like, the Impact certainly has a lot. I mean, you can get from Altus Shooting Supply, you can get the pre-fit barrels from Proof and Krieger and Bartlett, I believe, and then Studeville Precision offers pre-fit barrels from a handful of the large manufacturers, for the impact actions. But, there's still, every time you check the websites, there's still, in the chamberings that are popular, there's still out of stock. Do you want a 6 Creedmoor right now? Do you want a 6 GT? Good luck. You're going to have to subscribe to the email me when it comes back in stock. Because they're just out of stock. Yep. So in preparation, to kind of shift gears, in preparation for my blackjack challenge that's coming up on Friday, I'm taking this very serious, by the way, and keeping my expectations also relatively low, because I am a believer in the better you are and the more you prepare, just it gives you that chance to get lucky easier, right? Like you can, the more you prepare, the higher chance you have of getting lucky, I think. But I want to go there as prepared as I can. So over the last couple of days, I've conducted some testing. Of course, ever since I left your class and I revisited all of my load data, I have been shooting into that lower node that we talked about, that 2820 feet per second area. And I've got my extreme spreads down around 13 feet per second. My standard deviation's around 5. And, I'm happy with my load, and it's good and consistent on target too. I've been tracking my cold bore. And so on Sunday and on Monday, this last week here, I went out for 4 different sessions each day. And, I did small batches of hand loads just in case I wanted to change something between sessions, which the only thing I changed was I tried a different set of primers to bring down my ES and SD, and that didn't help. So I went back to the same primer I've been using, and then I put my bullet a little bit forward in the I decreased my jam, right? I sent my bullet a little bit more forward to the lands by 0.003, and that lowered my SDs and my extreme spreads pretty good there, which kind of awesome. It kind of tracks, though. It's sort of what I would expect with, given the cleaning situation that I had when I sent my rifle to you. So my jam has moved a little bit, which is fine. But I got it all dialed in, and I've been tracking my cold bore. I go out for, a 10-round session, and I would track my cold bore, and then I would track my follow-up shot. And I'd track my cold bore on the next session and my follow-up shot, and then I would proceed to shoot, at the KYL rack. And I finally started seeing some commonality after, I collected enough data after about 5 or 6 cold bores. I finally started seeing some commonality between them and my follow-up shot, where that's going to land. So I'm really hoping that all of this data tracking is going to lead to some good success on cold boring the 2-inch plate at 500 yards.
Nice.
What do you think of that?
Nice. Yeah,
It's a tall order.
You're doing it. You're doing it right. And then, so how's the blackjack challenge work? Is it you go from small to big, or big to small, and are you betting on it, or how does the blackjack challenge work?
It's 6 plates, and it's a KYL rack at 500 yards. So the far left plate is a 12-inch plate. The one next to it on the right is a 10-inch plate, and then it's an 8-inch plate, and a 6-inch, and a 4-inch, and a 2-inch. And the way the blackjack challenge works is that each plate is worth each plate is worth some points, and it's the first plate's worth 1, second plate is worth 2, third is 3, fourth is 4, so on and so forth. If you hit them all, then that actually adds up to 21 points, and they call that blackjack, right? Now, if you have ammo and time left over, because you have 12 rounds to do this in and 2 minutes to do it, if you have ammo and time left over, you can continue to shoot on the 2-inch plate. And I should say as well that you can only move to the next plate once you've hit the plate previous. So,
right.
Yeah. So if you can't hit the 4-inch plate, then you never get to a chance to shoot at the 2-inch. But the there's a bit of a benefit. It's kind of a gamble because I've shot it both ways. If you go backwards from 2 to 12, then you have to return to the 2-inch plate for the remainder of your shots if you have time. If you go backwards, he'll give you double the points for each plate. Now, I've shot it both ways. I've cold bored at this point in time. I've cold bored the 2-inch plate twice.
Wow.
And I've run it backwards 3 times total, successfully. I've tried it 5 times. So, but I've also run it forwards plenty of times, probably a dozen. And I can't seem to beat 105 points. No matter if I get the benefit of doubling up on the points on the way doing it backwards, I can't seem to beat 105 points. So, I mean, it's a good score. I think bragging rights would be the only thing I'd be going for by shooting it backwards. Of course, if it doesn't go my way because of, wind and whatever, I've got a slew of excuses, by the way, just piled right up on a notepad if it doesn't go my way.
That's right. That's right.
But if it doesn't go my way, I'll pay the $100 to do the try again, and then I'll just shoot it, straight up from the left to right, the big plate to the small plate. But
nice.
It's all going to come down to how well I can spot my own trace, my own misses. So if I can do that, I've gotten pretty good now at making that correction and getting onto the plate. So done it a few times backwards. I feel confident here. If we were doing the challenge here, I feel pretty confident about it. But out in Texas, we're showing up a day early to shoot. Essentially, myself and Shane, my shooting partner, we're showing up a day early to shoot at another gun range, and we're going to zero the rifles and shoot at 500 yards. Kind of make sure everything is still doing the same thing and still doing things that we expect it to do, and then the next day is going to be game time. And
yay!
Yeah.
Well, you have to shoot with some pics, and if you need anything, I'll be available by phone. You can call my cell phone if you have any questions, you need help. But yeah, I really appreciate you even just throwing in a kind word, and that means a lot to us here. And of course, customers mean everything to us here. Those that have believed in our system and taken a chance on our system. Every time it's a pin on the map somewhere that somebody is out basically using our rifle, and other people get a chance to see it. So it's what makes our business, tick on a daily basis and grow. So we really appreciate you doing it.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean, one thing to shoot the rifle and enjoy it, which a lot of hunters and shooters do, but it's another thing to go out and talk about it. So that means a lot.
Oh yeah, absolutely. No, I'm a believer in the product for life at this point. I think it's a good value. I think it's a good product. I'm certainly happy with it, and it's shown me nothing but good results. One thing I will say is that people that spend, this kind of money on a, custom precision rifle, I think are a lot more tuned into when it's acting right and when it's acting wrong, right? And so I think we can get into our feelings a little bit more with a high dollar, really nice precision rifle. Like when I wasn't happy with the way the bolt lift was. I called you up. You said send your barreled action back to me, and we'll take a look at it. You probably galled the lugs, and not knowing any better, that's exactly what I did. You fixed it, and it's the smoothest it's ever been. I'm absolutely happy with it. I can't say that I would notice that on any of my other rifles because they're not the premium high dollar precision pieces of equipment. They're Savage actions, they're Stiller actions. I do have an Impact precision action now, But I mean, the bat action that I have is by far the nicest feeling action that I own. And that's just one thing I would say is that, we tend to pay more attention to these pieces of equipment just because of how refined they are. And it can be everything you want it to be, and then it can be the bane of your existence sometimes. But
that's for sure. There's no ifs and buts about that one. That's hilarious.
But thank you for the phone call today, man. I recorded our conversation. I hope you don't mind.
No, not at all.
I'll send you this. I'll send you this recording, and if you don't mind too, I might even put this in one of my videos. The sort of work up to the blackjack challenge that I plan on doing, and I'll send you a copy of it. You can kind of listen to it for yourself, or even put it on your podcast there and say, I got interviewed on accident. I didn't even know.
Yeah, and if you ever want to do like a video, we're going to start videoing our podcast a little bit more and invite you on and talk about your experience and growing and, coming from where you came from to where you're at now. I mean, there's a lot of value to newer shooters that would, I think, be inspired to go for it if they knew that, hey, you could go from here and be where you're at. And it's just some hard work and some practice and some patience. And so, vice versa, if you would decide you'd like to come on the podcast, or if you want to do like a live video feed, we could set something up here with some cameras and do like a live, interview. So, yeah, just holler and let me know I can help. And no, I appreciate it. And it's been a pleasure having you at the school. And one of the things I think, too, is we're always here to help. So, we're a phone call away if you need anything.
Absolutely. I've always appreciated that about you guys. I'm only a little over a year and a half into this now, and I'm absolutely hooked, and I'm ecstatic with, the leaps and bounds that I've taken. But by far the biggest leap that I took was seeking formal education on it. I mean, I can't express that enough, because there are things that you answered in your class that I did not know the question to ask, and people don't, I don't think people think of that a lot, because, you just, when you're learning and figuring all this stuff out, you don't know what you don't know. And you can't ask the question to Google. You can't ask the question to YouTube or even on the forums if you don't know, what to look for and what to ask. And
the same thing here, like what started the whole shooting school was just trying to help other competitors. And it wasn't that any of them were bad guys. It wasn't that a lot of them had terrible equipment. There was just simple things they just didn't know what they didn't know. And you just give them those tools and sort of share with them some tips and tricks, and it's just off to the races. You've nailed it. That's exactly what it is. And new shooters, the school of hard knocks just flat out sucks.
It's expensive, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, it is. Humbling, browbeating, ego destroying, list goes on and on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Seek formal education. That's the number one tip I could give to a new shooter. That's for sure. Yeah.
Yep. And we still do it in our business today. We're in classes every year. I don't know how many. I probably already have 4 weeks of professional training this year in machining and tooling and CAD and CAM designs. And I think everybody who knows that, like you just said, seek everything that we ever go after. We always try to seek out the best and shortcut the pain and suffering.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we live by the same thing here too.
Yeah.
Well, did you need anything as far as equipment wise? You all squared away? I guess you're getting close to leaving, so there's not a lot of room for any last minutes.
Yeah, no, I am all set. I'm all set. I think I've got everything that I need. I've been real fortunate. MDT's helped me out with a couple chassis. And that's been super helpful. MDT helped me out with a couple chassis, some ACC Elites actually, with internal weights and Baker wings and stuff. So I can't thank them enough for the support of my channel, which is nice. They sent me a bipod to try out, and I look forward to what that relationship brings. Other than that, I think I'm all set. I appreciate the offer, and if I can think of anything, I'll definitely reach out to you. Yeah. Yeah.
That was easy. Well, good luck out there. Keep me in the loop. Know how you do. And, man, I hope you go out there and kick butt and have a blast. I've never met Eric. I sent him an email a while ago, just reaching out to him about a Harmonch article that I read. And never really heard back from him, but I would love to have met him someday. So you enjoy your time meeting him, spending time with him. He's been around the industry a long time and probably knows a lot of stuff, too. So I'm sort of a little jealous. You go out there and enjoy, spending time with him and learning from him as much as you can. That's a great opportunity. I hope you really, really enjoy it.
Yeah, absolutely. If you've got any questions that you think I should ask that I could benefit from hearing his perspective on something, shoot me a text, and I'll definitely
for sure.
I'll definitely ask him. I plan on picking his brain about a few things, but not bugging the man. I know he's busy. You're busy too.
Yep.
Thank you for your time today. It's been almost an hour.
No worries. Well, you call if you need anything else, and then send me some stuff after you're all done. Let me know how the experience was.
Will do. Thank you, Jamie. Take care.
You're welcome. You take care. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye.
Well, we hope you enjoyed the interview. Thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us here on the show. If you enjoyed the interview and you'd like to share it, please feel free. It helps us a lot with our ratings. If you would like to leave us a nice comment, we appreciate that as well. And, of course, thank you, Derick, for the interview and for the nice work that you're doing and for sharing that with us here. So thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join us here. My name is Jamie Dotson. I'm your host, and you're listening to Wolf Precision's Long Range Shooting and Custom Rifle Building Podcast.